What's up guys, Kelso here, and we're back with another MX Bikes video. We're going to be talking about the update that just happened in MX Bikes, Beta 20. Poboso literally just dropped this on our front doorstep and said, figure it out. We don't have exactly official changelogs on Steam, but we do have something in the MX Bikes community Discord that has all the changelogs so far. Hopefully an update will come later that we can fully read it. But so far what we have got, I will try to put this up on the side of the screen for you, is the updated MSM tire traction. So the MSM is basically the stock bikes that come with the Poboso game. The traction has completely changed. You guys can test that out yourself if you like. I am just on the OEM bikes. I'll probably come out with a video later about those. Improve the kickstart animation for the 250X. That's also another thing as well, so you can actually see a better animation. Fixed protection paint saving. So say you have a chest protector on, maybe some freaking chains on, some dreads. They're actually going to save the next time you load up the video game and or you're switching bikes, etc, etc. Fixed small rider physics tweaks. I'll get into this a little bit later. Fixed rider ghost twitchiness. I don't really know what this is. I would only assume that when you're actually trying to do hot laps or testing, you have your twitch or you have your ghost on. I guess the ghost was being twitchy or whatever. New stock track, which is the one we're on. We're going to be riding this in a bit. Small sit stand delay. That's also what I want to talk on, the small rider physics tweaks. Riding style option in the garage. So say if you have a UI already happening, you need to go into that UI folder. You already know who you are. I don't need to explain this to the people that haven't done it because this doesn't pertain to you, but you need to go in there and delete it or remove it if you don't see it, or update it. And then you would see the rider animations. Basically, you can see the more attacked rider style already on that. You can see how his head's more over the bars. Added the chats for dedicated servers. This is more pertained to me. I usually use, dedicated servers 24/7. So now I can see the chat logs for people who are being naughty. And I put you on my naughty list and all that stuff. This ain't gonna get away these times, right? So new ban messages with relevant information and reasons. Ban, admin, pull, ping, more server chat messages, disconnections, all that stuff. Now the big thing that we want to talk about is the tire traction. They say that it's really more for the Poboso stock bikes, but I've also found that it's kind of actually transferred over to the OEM bikes. Now you may think I'm tripping and I may be wrong. This is all just me thinking or hypothesis. I was able to at least ride for 3.5 hours yesterday on stream with the dudes and actually test myself. Now, it's either that the tires were able to replicate over here, or it's the rider tweaks of the physics and the rider stand and sit. What I want to say is where we were before on the bike, of how we were sitting and all that. I can't fully gauge it and say, yes, I'm right. But I think the rider weight has completely shifted on where your rider is the animation. Now, I think that's the only reason why they've continued to add the rider garage spot to where you could actually maybe do motocross, supercross, different riding styles when people start to get into that. But I do think, and as you can see here, how close and how much more he's leaned over the bars. Before, he wasn't really leaned over this bars at all as much in that attack position, but also you could see the arch. So I would only assume that the weight of your rider starts maybe from the abdomen here and maybe ends maybe the thigh side. I could be completely wrong. Maybe this is exactly where all your rider weight lies, is maybe in this little bubble. I would say bubble, maybe abdomen here, but you can see the little vertical line, maybe a V if you want to really call it. But you can see where that is. Right now, I feel like that's center of the bike. He's had his head over the bars, as you should when you start to accelerate speed IRL. And I think when you actually have a regular sit, stand, or if you have a regular attack position, right now I think I'm leaning a little bit more over the bars. But when you actually just relax the bike and all that, your rider weight is more pushed back now instead of it was more kind of already in the front more. So I think that was a big thing, is that a rider weight was more closer to the front tire instead of more towards the back, and where I guess you should be attacking and keeping that rider weight at the level center of the bike. Could be completely wrong. That's how I'm taking this hypothesis. Now, what has this done for me? I've seen a lot more of me being able to stand up on the bike, give more of an attack position as I'm starting to accelerate, and have more drive and more grip and stability on the bike. I've also seen it to where when I need to start slowing down and braking, to where if I need to go like this and pull back, I can also do that and make sure I have the rider weight on the back of the bike so I can actually slow down. Also with the sit and stand delay, you obviously from before, I would say the physics of us being able to stand up, sit down as quick as possible over and over and over again. Try doing that in IRL. I just don't think you can actually keep perfect form and or, you know, perfect riding style, standing up and down as quick as you think you can. I think you get tired pretty quickly. I mean, it doesn't even matter about the, you know, the fatigue, but being able to stand up. But also I think that was affecting the way the rider weight was being initiated through everything. I feel like that was making a lot of suspension tweaks and a lot of suspension things pretty wonky at times, because you're automatically shifting that rider weight from sitting down to standing up in the matter of like a second, to where now you're giving it that chance of, if you need to seat bounce, you can actually move that rider weight from sitting and actually standing as the rider weight progresses, allowing the suspension and all the shocks to absorb that and then boost off, right? Same thing going for scrubs and stuff. Now with the sit and stand delay, this is something to where I just came out with a video as well. I just came out with a video with this, to where it's like you're able to scrub where you're standing, then you sit and then you stand back up to control your scrubs. I do think this is possible, but with the stand sit delay, you have to sit down so much earlier. If you try to sit down before as you were off the face of the jump, it's so delayed that by the time you do sit down, you're already in the air. The scrub is non-existent. So you have to try to sit down earlier than that in order for the scrub to actually exist, and then you can stand up a little bit later to control it. I do think it's possible. You just have to find the right technique. I feel like right now his rider position, you can see where his butt and his rider lies. He is not too far back on the bike. He's up on that gas tank, and right there, that's kind of like the center of the bike. That is center of the bike, so the rider weight is automatically in the center without him leaning back, moving forward, which is huge. And then obviously when you push back and you stand up, which obviously you won't be able to see this stand up until you reach over 15 miles per hour. So that's another thing that they kind of was a hidden thing. You actually don't see yourself standing up to about 15 miles per hour. So as soon as you get up to 50 miles per hour, let me stand up. And then when you get up to 50 miles per hour, you'll see yourself actually stand up. That right there is a little sketchy situation, because you can't stand up going anything lower than that. So it actually adjusts the rider weight at a weird spot. And then obviously as you're jumping and all that stuff, this is where things come into play, to where you need to either be sitting down or standing up at the right time. And like I said, there is a delay, so it does adjust the weight at a different speed or a different pace. Let me see if I can show this. I jumped already standing up, and then as I sat down in the air, I stood back up again. So it's weird. I went to go sit down. Hold on, let me rewind this a little bit faster. You can see myself already sitting down right here. I went to stand up about right there as I'm about to sit down, and you can see that I felt like myself allowing me to get enough time to compress the suspension for me to get another seat bounce going. Because if I didn't sit down, I'm not seat bouncing anything, I'm just jumping again off the same thing, right? And you can't obviously sit down and stand up as quick as you want to. So I think that is the new meta. I mean, obviously we're out of Supercross, but still seat bouncing counts for outdoors as well. So once again, I'm already here. I'm standing up the whole time. I'm standing. Did not sit down at all, but we bounce off. Give it a little bit of that, and I'm sitting down, and then I stand about right there. I want to believe I pressed the seat bounce, or the stand button, so I can already be able to seat bounce again, and that allows me to get that jump on the top of the table, and then I'm literally standing up again, compressing the suspension. It's really a matter of knowing when to press it now, and that's the skill gap. All right, so something I wanted to show before we end this video is me going in a straight line without touching the rider lean at all, and seeing where my head's at exactly going straight. So this is something we definitely could touch upon. This is me right now, standing up, no lean on the bike. You can see where the rider weight and the attack position. So you can see the rider weight has already transitioned. Like I said, if you think of this as a V or a bubble, where the rider weight should be, think of this as the point. The rider weight goes from here to maybe here. See where the rider weight is exactly at while you're standing. And that's me not touching the bike. So the rider weight is already destined a little bit to be more on the back of the bike, I would say. I mean, I would say it's still, I wouldn't say it's center. Maybe a little bit, but right here. Literally this line. That's a little bit closer to the back of the bike. Right? And that's just me not touching the analog stick to lean forward. Like I said, you can get a more aggressive lean forward as you start to progress. So now, head over the bars, you can see how much more we are. Now the rider weight is in the middle of the bike. So right before, it was like these creases back here, right? The rider weight, if you want to call it here, was back here. Now I have my head so far over the bars, which obviously you should be doing, right? If you've seen AJ Catanzaro and all that, being more over the bars helps you out big time, right? So obviously more hands over the bars as you're starting to speed, the rider weight has shifted to right about here. I feel like rider weight that was so close to the front of the bike before this update was that when we were able to lean back like this, we actually had the rider weight in the middle of the bike, right? You can see where the rider weight would be now is literally at the end, right? And I've heard a lot of people say that they're wheeling, they're just leaning back and praying, and then they're wheeling, they're pushing it up. Look how much rider weight you have on the back of the bike as you're accelerating, right? So this is another thing you have to think about as well, as we're starting to play this game in beta 20 now, right? I feel like I keep talking about this is when is the rider weight of you just pulling back and praying gonna be switched, right? There's a lot of rider weight to the front of the bike, allowing more stability on that front brake. But now the rider weight is completely in the back of the bike, and you can see how much more dipped down it is now over here. So there is a complete change. There is a complete change in rider physics and the way the rider weight is distributed on the bike. So I would say green, good, is more head over the bars, rider weight towards the front of the bike, so you can stabilize that speed that you're putting on the bike. Middle of the bike is good. If you're going to be pulling like this, I'd probably recommend sitting down or having a lot of good throttle control, because I promise you, you're probably going to lift the bike up probably 8 times out of 10. For scrubbing, be sure to sit a little earlier. That way you can actually initiate it and then stand up, because if you don't, you're not going to initiate anything. Seat bouncing is bigger than ever, so make sure that if you're going to stand up for seat bounce, ride up, sitting down, and then stand up closer to the edge, and then you're going to see that suspension compress better than ever, and then poof, fly into the air. But that's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for my TED Talk. I had a lot of information there, but hopefully you guys watch it to the end. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.